straight from his book. The problem is now larger. That leaky newspaper, with disproportionate influence, has put it into the minds of students, funders, parents, governments, and others. That delinking would have to be much more than the institution or the system. And also society more generally. And society more generally, because it's like when people like a fashion, you could say, I'm not going to join the fashion trend, but if all your neighbors are in that fashion, it's going to be hard. You can resist, but you'll fight with your own family members about why you are not part of the rest of the world.
One of my transfers to it, the society wanted you. I think the problem lies in the vice chancellor.
No, I think you. As Jonathan said,
I don't want to go there. This is a conversation over.
As Jonathan says, sometimes you're giving the vice chancellors influence they actually do not have.
Yeah. Do you want to deal with Kinch's question? 30 years time.
30 years time. Well, one of the arguments I liked in Chris' book is that he said that universities are very durable institutions, actually. That many universities outlast governments. And I'm one of those people who believe, for something I'm doing, I believe that I wrote down that this is true before I read this book. And I was going to delete it until I read this book. So that universities actually are lifelong institutions. They might change their form and nature, and that is one of the topics we are talking about. That they might even lose direction. And I think that, Chris, you said in one of your chapters that they might be meddlingly slow in changing. And I think I'm quoting verbatim. But I think that 30 years from now, you might have a debate like this, but the one thing I'm proud about is that the university will exist, and it will be central to society, and people will be thinking and rethinking it, and its purpose and mission will remain.
Chris, last word.
All right, so first, as a last word, thank you all very much. And Peter, thank you because you indulged the launch of a book that was really written in a different context. So this is a book that grew out of my experience in Australia and South Africa and in England, but I started to write this while I was still in office, and so there's definitely a UK slant to the book, and I'm kind of unapologetic about that because that's where I was and that was what I wanted to say. But all that means is I couldn't, while sitting in England, write a book about South Africa or Peace Must Fall or any of those other things. So in that sense, it is what it is. I want to thank you, Tawana, for that response to Kanta's question. What would we like the state of universities to do? What's the idea? What is our own final course? What is it? Where are we? What ideally? How should it be? And the long view, and you had it almost word for word. The long view says universities are among the most durable institutions society ever invented. Just think about that. How many things can you name that have lasted as long as universities have lasted? In some recognizable shape or form, a university now is a university 500 years ago.
Catholic Church.
And the Crown of England. So
Okay.
It's a list of three: Catholic Church, the Crown of England, and universities. But the long view is, we feel that if a time machine dropped us into a university of, say, 500 years ago, we would recognize it and not feel out of place there. And likewise, we hope that if the time machine brought us forward in time 500 years, we would still find universities recognizable and valuable. So that's the really long view. I think the 30-year view, I'm not going to be around 30 years from now, but the 30-year view or the 10-year view, if I had my way, would be a very simple thing. Can we give equal attention to those two key questions? Can we find a way? I don't think the rankings will go away. I do think they will proliferate because of self-preservation and so on. But can we find a way of also doing the what are we good for axis? And can every university on its website not only say what they're good at, but also say what they're good for? And which challenges have they chosen to respond to, and how do they do it? And they do that by conscious choice. not by government instruction or to make money, or they do that by choice because we feel we have a contribution to make. So I think the long view kind of thing is, for me at least, and that's why I wrote the book, it can't be only a focus on disciplinary excellence. There must be something more. And more is why did we do it? What contribution do we make? And I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping you will join us afterwards, friends, to celebrate over a glass of wine and some food the launch of this book and continue the conversation. But I'm going to ask my colleague, Professor Shireen Mutala, to propose a vote of thanks. Shireen.
Thanks very much. I forgot my glasses, so this is going to be a bit of a struggle. But anyway, I just want to start off by saying that this is an event that's been jointly hosted by JIAS, Ali Mazrui Center for Higher Education, and the UJ Postgraduate School. And really, I just want to thank Peter and Michael for strengthening this partnership. I think we're all very committed to building the scholarly discourse within the UJ community and outside. And I'm really thrilled to see how many people have come outside of UJ as well today. So thank you for that. I think I've had the privilege to spend some time with Chris over the last day, and I've really learned a lot. I think the issues that he's put on the table around university and society, and civic participation, and the very interesting model he presents of Newcastle is something that we can all learn from. And I think in terms of relevance and responsiveness, we don't have a choice in terms of the South African higher education context. I think all the discussions around unpacking excellence have been incredibly useful. The point that was made about the breakdown of trust, the hugely polarized situation we find ourselves in, both within South African society and within higher education, is something that we really need to work on. And then I think the opportunities are around the modes of knowledge production. You've spoken very eloquently about the shifting away from the narrow disciplinary focus, the opportunities for multidisciplinarity, and what that can do in terms of the broader societal goals. So I thank you for that. So to my former Dean of Humanities, I'm thrilled to be here with you. We don't meet enough. And I think that the points you made on ranking are absolutely spot on. We often are critical, but we're not as articulate in the way we characterize it, so I'm grateful for that. I think the point you made about the African context is really relevant. We had a conference a couple of weeks ago at UJ by the Pan-African Institute, and there were very powerful presentations made on the Alagon School and the Dar es Salaam School and the Ibadan School. And I think there are rich lessons from the African context that can inform what's going on in South Africa as well. So I'm grateful for you to make that point. And Jonathan, I think, was very nuanced and put all the things very eloquently on the table, particularly around the issue of identity and race and nuance in our setup. So I think we're all in agreement, as much as there might be many differences, that we're all in agreement that education has to reinsert itself as a public good, and that we have to become a lot more responsive in terms of the university, society, community linkages. To all of you, I learned a lot. It was a very, very rich engagement. And to Chris, we look forward to the next book, and we hope you launch it here again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Long time. Yeah, I don't find the distance between us and it's so great.
Next time I visit you, I want to see you on your desk. Lucky to do, come on.
Excellent academic.
Okay, good soon.
Management. Give your call. But I get news from Kusana.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I sort of tried to.
No, colleagues take me because they
Yeah, how are you?
said they gave
Are you going to forgive me for not recognizing? Are you going to forgive me for not recognizing you?
No, it's not a problem. He had to address it. The question was, is university not a new concept?
Yes.
40 new in it. And he just addressed it.
No, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
True
You
survived.
survived management.
Yeah.
What I told before, where do you get
He needs to read fantastic social. No, in the back they're selling.
Yeah.
Modern social needs to read this. Hey? Bought a copy for Chilitsi.